I saw recently some trends in banking indicating that since 2008, we've seen a decline in the number of FDIC-insured banks of about 38%, from 7,870 banks to 4,909 banks on the spreadsheet that I saw. Over the same period of time, assets grew by 80%, from $10 trillion to $18 trillion. Mergers have been going on at a very brisk pace, as you're no doubt aware, and I'd like you to share what your research shows about the economic implications of increasing concentration in the banking industry and how that might restrict or perhaps enhance the availability of credit to those who take the risk on investments to grow our economy.
Thank you. The number of banks has been decreasing pretty steadily now for more than 30 years. I remember 14,000 was the number, I think, when I was in the government 30 years ago. And it's a range of factors. It's people leaving rural areas. It's also allowing interstate banking and things like that. But for whatever reason, you've seen a long-run process. Now, we know that when a small bank goes out of business in a rural county or a small town, that's not a good thing, and that's bad for the country. It's bad for that town, bad for the social fabric. So we try not to add to the problems of community banks through excessive regulatory burden. We try to be mindful of their important role in society. The number of mergers last year, 2018, was the lowest in quite a long time. I asked the staff to go back and look. It's at lowest in at least 15 years. So mergers and consolidation are actually at a pretty low level. I mean, the last thing I'll say is I think we need banks of all different sizes. And we need small banks. We need banks across the spectrum at different business models, serving different communities. You know, we want a diverse ecosystem of banks out there to have a healthy economy.
Okay. You know, related to that same question, could you share the criteria that the Fed uses in evaluating bank merger applications?
I'd be glad to. So it's quite detailed. There's a Federal Reserve Act section that lays out a lot of detail, and there's also plenty of guidance on that issue. Actually, I have a picture of it here. So we look at competitive factors, banking community factors, managerial resources. We look at compliance with consumer and fair lending laws and CRA record and that kind of thing. We look at the combined financials, of course, of the two companies. We also invite public comment. We have a pretty thoroughly, carefully worked out process. We go through this process carefully for mergers and look at all those factors and then make a decision.